Hey there, I'm Jono with the Pro Church Marketing Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Today, I want to spend just a few minutes answering some of the questions that we get pretty frequently about the Google Ad Grant. And we've done some workshops online, done a lot of social media posts, and just seeing a lot of questions come in during the online workshops and in our Facebook group and elsewhere. And some of the same questions keep getting asked over and over. So thought we would just spend a few minutes sharing some answers to those questions here. So I'll jump right in because I don't like long podcasts, right? So one of the first questions that we get, and we joke about this one a lot, and you probably already know the answer, but surprisingly, we get asked, is this grant money? Which is not really a dumb question. But the question is usually in the form of someone has been online looking for grants because they don't really have any funding. And so they're wanting the Google grant to put a new roof on the church or to buy a church van or a sound system. So we get that question pretty regularly from church leaders. So the answer is no, it's not money. They're not mailing you a check. It is actually in the form of Google ad credit in your ad account. So instead of putting a payment method on file, they just credit your account each month with $10,000 or $10,000 worth of ad credit. A couple things about that. It doesn't roll over. So if you only spend 9,000 of it this month, you don't have 11,000 next month. It's use it or lose it. So it's only 10,000 and it's not actual money. Another question we get is can you lose it? Can you lose the grant? And that's a yes. You can have the grant taken away from you. It's hard to say that why exactly Google would take the grant away. I mean, there's some basic guidelines that you've got to keep and some rules that you just can't break. But then there's other times where we've seen people, kind of get out of compliance and they don't lose the grant for a long time. So, for example, you obviously you can't run ads, whether it's a grant or not, about like online gambling or weapons or anything like that, which you're a church, you're not going to do that. One of the main compliance guidelines and a way that you could potentially lose the grant is not keeping a 5% click-through rate. So in case you don't know, a click-through rate is the percentage of people that click on your ads after having seen the ads. So if 100 people see your ads, and Google would call your ad showing up, someone seeing it, an impression. So out of every 100 impressions, at least 5 people need to actually click on your ads and go to your website. So 5%, that doesn't sound like a lot, but the truth is, if you could go Google it right now, what is the average click-through rate of a Google ad campaign? You'll see that for most industries like home services, things like that, it's about 2.5% nationwide. And so that's a fairly tall order of you as a nonprofit, you as a church getting a 5% click-through rate. The only industry that regularly beats 5% is online dating. So, for you as someone who really doesn't manage the Google ad grant for a living, to try to beat the national average of a click-through rate, that's fairly difficult to do. And but it's something that you've got to stay in compliance with, because the reason is Google considers the click-through rate really the primary measure of how good your ads are. And how relevant your ads are, how relevant your keywords are. So if people are clicking through, then that means the ads are compelling, they're reading the ads, something about them is grabbing the reader. You've used relevant search terms because the ads are showing up at relevant times. And so that tells Google that you care, that you're spending time on the ads and that you've done a good job with it. So you got to keep that 5% click-through rate. And we have seen other, really the only other people we've really seen lose the grants, people who just haven't done anything with it for a long, long time. They just let it sit. They forgot they had it. But then again, we've seen other churches, they forgot they had the grant and haven't touched it in 2 years and they still have it. So it's hard to say. There's really no rhyme or reason to that, but you don't want to do any of those things because Google can do whatever they want. You don't want them to take the grant from you. So that is something you can lose it. Now, if you don't lose it, if you don't do anything to break a rule or get out of compliance, then the grant is pretty indefinite unless Google decides to end the program, which it's been going for a long time, and there's never been any rumblings of them getting rid of the grant. It's great for them. It shows a lot of goodwill. And so there's really no reason for them to stop that. So it's indefinite. You could have this grant for, the next 100 years. Who knows? So yeah, it doesn't run out. It's not, you don't just get it for a month. You don't just get it one time. You don't just get it for a year. It's indefinite. Another good question, and kind of involves a time frame, is do the ad campaigns just last for a month? But in this case, no. When you create an ad campaign or an ad group inside your ad campaign, those are there. Then they're going to be there until you pause them or delete them or stop them from running. But you don't. These ads don't just stop running on their own. They don't expire or anything like that. Now they do have a life cycle on their own. You may have an ad group that is about, hey, come to church, that it does well for a while, and then eventually it kind of it falls off and becomes less effective. And so that's when you need to go add some new headlines and refresh some things and change things up, which is also why you need to spend time every month going and looking at your Google Ad Grant account and just showing it some love. Because you should create multiple ad groups and multiple ads, and all of those ads are not going to work. And so you want to go look in there and see what's working and what's not, and create more ads that are similar to the ones that are working, and pause those ad groups or those ads that aren't getting any traction, and let the budget go to the ads that are actually working. And the last question that we'll deal with is from one of our workshops, our online workshops. The question was, how do I run these ads without getting charged? So there's some confusion about the payment method, or that they're scared to that they're going to get charged for it. But when you get the Google grant, when you activate the ad grant, you don't put a payment method on file. So there's no way for them to charge you. Now, we have seen people get prompted by Google to put a payment method on file. And I'm not sure why that happens, but I want to stress, don't put a payment method on file, because if you do, then you automatically convert that grant account to a paid account now, and you would have to start over and go get re-verified and jump through all the hoops and apply for the grant from scratch. So don't put a payment method on file. Now, I said that was the last question. I have one more question that we want to answer because I think it's really good. And we were asked, can you spend more than $10,000? Because the grant is supposed to be limited at $10,000. We, for the first time, actually had a grant spend more than $10,000 in a month. It was like $10,363. We'd never done that before. I don't know that it'll happen again, but it is apparently possible to spend over $10,000. And again, it's not like our credit card picked up the $363 overage from the Google ad grant after the $10,000. Google just gave us all of that. So that was actually pretty cool. We're pretty excited about that. So hopefully, if you've ever needed those questions answered, now you're good. If you've got other questions about the Google ad grant or search engine optimization or meta ads, shoot us a message, hello@faithworksmarketing.com, or you can find me on social media at Jono Long, JONOLONG, and happy to help you answer your questions. And we hope everything's going well in your ministry, and we pray that you reach more people for Jesus in your community. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.